Live.
We're doing it live.
1, 2, 3.
Gonna walk that promenade, yeah, we're gonna rock that promenade, be the talk of that promenade. Looking for a star drifter, not a shapeshifter. Lots to do and more to see. Sweet sticks from a jump to tree, oh, oddities, opportunities. Free advice, but not for cheap, oh, gambling wheels, shaded deals. Meet me back here tomorrow, please. Walk that promenade. Yeah, we're gonna rock that promenade.
Hello and good evening for this Monday, March 18th, 2024. We have finished watching Star Trek DS9, Season 7, Episode 17, Penumbra, an episode that came out 25 years ago. But we're just getting started here on Live Long and Podcast for our live stream review as we continue our mission to watch every episode of Star Trek DS9 and review it. It's been 4 years, but here we are, and we're starting the final chapter with Penumbra, the final 9 episodes. I'm Dave Maynard. We got, of course, the inimitable Kevin Millard with us once again.
How's it going, Dave? Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. And you got to talk to me, you coward.
Talk to me, you coward.
I just had to get that in there. And of course, once again with us, a man who's watched this episode for the first time in his life just last night. It's Adam Woodward.
Hey, Dave, happy birthday. Yes, I did watch it for the first time last night. And we'll talk.
And
hey,
we're gonna talk all about
last
it.
week we talked about this being one of like two-parter. And so I fire up Netflix and it says part 1.
It's not really, I don't know. It's okay. Like, yes, this is a standalone episode and we were reviewing it as a standalone episode, but it is really part 1 of a 9-part story arc. So take that for what you will. You can definitely binge this episode and go into the next 8 episodes. No problem whatsoever, if that's your prerogative. But that's how but since it doesn't end on a to be continued, and since this follows a similar arc to how like they started off season 6 with those 4 episodes, that was when they weren't on the station, when the station was occupied by Dukat and Wei-Yun and all them, but this is even longer and grander in how we're going to break this all down. So I'm interested to get your thoughts on it, Adam, and of course all of our people in the live comments here tonight. We have, of course, Norman with us. He's saying, doesn't Dukat make an evil-looking Bajorn? Yes, he does.
So he does.
He does. And that's really just how he looks in real life, So think about that. Of course, we got Sam with us.
So peaceful. He doesn't have that, that aura of peace around him at all. There's nothing.
Right, like that kind of like the way he kind of stands and walks in that Cardassian attire. He, it's a little different here. You'll see this plays out. Sam's excited here for the final chapter and many more. Thank you, Sam, for the birthday wishes. So I don't know. Like I didn't watch this one in a while, and to watch it just by itself was an interesting experience. Kevin, how was this for you?
I love this episode. I
love it.
Yeah, I do. It's the first thing they've done with Ezri that I really like. I like that they do this with these two. It's a great scene. And
you like that they hook up?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. You're about the love.
Yeah, of course. And then I also
the passion,
for the passion.
And I also like the Cisco and Sarah stuff. Like if you marry her, you'll have a worse life, right?
Yeah,
it's really
your
good.
pain would be suffering, and suffering would be pain. And he's like, well, I get to make my own decisions. And she's like, no,
You're the Cisco.
You're the Cisco. Your pain would be pain. So, Adam, you don't know where this is going, so we're gonna try not to spoil it too bad for you throughout this review. But it's gonna be a little hard for me, I think, to not talk about
It's
how
okay.
they
I'll
start
forget
some
what
of
you're
these.
saying by tomorrow anyway.
Yeah, okay, you'll forget anyway. So, but Adam, just not knowing where it's specifically going, not having that knowledge, I think other than what you maybe have picked up over the years, from people talk about the end of the show. How was this for you?
I like Kevin. I really enjoyed the Worf Esri story. I thought that was really good. And Kevin, I'm with you on that too. Esri finally turned around as a character. This one,
she turned around for you on this one.
She turned around for me. Now now the whole Dax backgrounds, and you get to see a lot more of her. She's a much deeper character than they would have led you believe. How many episodes now we're in this? I'm not even sure.
This is the 17th episode of this season and the 167th overall.
Yeah, so we've seen her now for 17 minus 1. I think she missed one episode, right?
Maybe. I feel like even the episode she wasn't in, she was maybe in a scene, or she was in the background of one scene. Like, they really used her in this season because
because you know what? Actually, there's been 2 episodes now where she's being kind of interesting. The Emperor's New Clothes was one, and now this one. When she didn't actually play herself, and then today was
Esri Deegan, not even a Dax.
Yes, and then this episode she was going back. She's playing her characters, like everything that's being part of her. Like that a lot, and the passion that I mentioned too between Worf and her, I think that was coming. He's been avoiding her, and just here we go. We're in.
Yeah. Okay, I'll tell you how I felt about it. There's things I like.
Can I just finish, please? Just one more thing here.
Oh,
and then
I thought you were done. Sorry.
Yeah, the Captain Cisco Sarah, I like that a lot. I like that was also very good. Finally, get to see some background on that story and her, and she plays almost the same character she does in the Orville, by the way. I think
the personality is like identical, like the way she played. But her character in the Orville is a mother, and in this show she's not. So I'd say that there's a distinction, but. And her other character's a doctor, and this character is a freighter captain. Freighter captain just has that mental image, I still don't know what the mental image is supposed to be, but anyway, sorry, continue.
But as soon as they get into the religious part of it, I get a little bit, I lose it a little bit.
Okay, and that's where I am too, and I've always felt this way about this end storyline that he's this messiah figure, and that his destiny is a fate, and that he has like this divine role to play, and he can't get married to Cassidy, he's told, and go have this happy ending that he's always wanted. That's not in the cards for him, but also that's good dramatic writing. So you're kind of like left saying, well, I don't really blame them for going this way, because it feels like this show was kind of set up with the death of his first wife, Jake's mom's, Jennifer. And then he comes to this station, and that's kind of really touched upon in this episode. This is kind of the beginning of the end, right? So, she's like, did you really think this would become your home? Because the whole episode starts with them looking at the house or the place on Bajor, the land on Bajor he's bought, because he plans to move to Bajor. And live there because he's so enthralled with the Bajoran people, which makes sense. There's just a lot to this arc, and I feel like I have to respect it, even though if I don't always enjoy it, because I'm like, that's all this religion, and it's sort of like because he gets all caught up in it too, and you're like, am I supposed to be into this? Like, how am I really, as a viewer, how am I always supposed to feel about it? Is because I don't think I'm going to be joining the Bajoran faith anytime soon.
Well, you guys have put him on a pretty big pedestal as well, and I still don't see that yet.
As a captain. Well, I think he holds up.
And remember, I have seen it, but certainly this season he's been pretty much to the sidelined.
He has not been in the season a lot. The episodes he has been in, they've been holodeck episodes, and a lot of stuff that's good for his character, but it's very sort of missing some of the more dramatic beats. And
a lot of the episodes that he's not in, or he's got one scene, like I was saying last week, it just feels kind of like he mailed it in, right? Yeah. Jody
won't be with us tonight. No worries. Anyway, so yeah, well, like it's just I like him as a warrior captain, as this guy who fights the Jem'Hadar and the Dominion and whatever.
But the
and
war's
stands
still
up.
on, and you haven't seen him in a while. So
You haven't seen him in a while. You haven't
Yeah.
really seen him doing much in the war, as he was in the
Right.
beginning of season 6, where he was right in the thick of things with Admiral Ross. And that all kind of went away in the show. And it's like, it's been more about these other smaller storylines, character focused storylines, which are being, hit and miss for us, I think, largely. And, so we're getting into this final storyline where every character we've ever met, especially these big ones like, Wayun Damar, the founder. Of course, we're going to see like characters like Rom and Lita and others pop up here. And then we get the introduction of the Breen too in this final chapter, which I think it was a smart choice. I really do enjoy that aspect of how they go with this final thing, because the Breen become this player in the Dominion War, coming. I never realized it was this final chapter when I saw this back in 1999. Like, because in my mind it was like, the Breen were in the war for a while, but it is 9 episodes. But actually, now that you look at it, it's like this storyline probably takes place over a couple weeks. It's not.
Yeah, and like you think they're in for a while because we haven't really had any Dominion War stories. So they're in all of the Dominion War stories
After
in
this
season,
Yeah.
but there's just not that many.
Right.
Right.
So Adam, how was the introduction? Well, you kind of seen some Breen before in some previous episodes, but they really start to flesh them out in these next 9 episodes. So
do you know that scene where they showed up on the planet in Worf and Ezri woke up to them essentially?
Yeah.
Being there?
Mhm.
It seemed the visual of that seemed very 1960s science fiction to me. It looked very original series.
Especially when they were stunned, like
how the blaster
sure.
looked.
Yeah,
I was okay with that, but yeah, it's very fast and whatever. But yeah, like I don't know, the Breen kind of have the scary look in those suits with those green visors and everything. Okay, well, guys, let's go through the screenshots of the episode. Just remind ourselves of everything here because there's a lot to talk about. Okay, so this is apparently the land in Bajor that Sisko bought, Kendra province, I believe it was.
Very nice.
Seems all right. This is where he's going to build a house. He's going to build a house right here on this hill, looking out the valley. It's going to be pretty sweet. He's showing it off to Cassidy Yates. Do they even live together at this point officially, or that's it's because it seems like a big deal when he's like, this is going to be our house, Cassidy, and she's like, oh, are you asking me to marry you? And he's like, oh yeah.
Didn't you find that scene a little weird too, where he was just basically saying his dream right out? This is where I want to do. I'm going to build my house here. I didn't get the feeling that they were doing it together until that finally came up.
right.
Well, and I've always been kind of wondering, like, he doesn't really tell Jake about this, because what does Jake do? Is Jake going to live on the station indefinitely and pursue his life here? Because he came here as a kid, right? And was sort of, but now he's an adult. He can kind of go over and do whatever he wants. And,
Yeah, I'm sure Sisko thinks he's going to go and do his own thing. He's not going to move to Bajor with his
not going to live in the
right?
house.
Yeah.
And like and have his gumbo and whatever, all the Creole cooking that he's going to do. Of course, I had to pull that quote. But gotta get the things out of the kitchen here. Sisko.
Well, man needs to concentrate in the kitchen.
Man needs to concentrate in the kitchen.
You don't want everybody in there with their fingers in the pots.
Yeah, they're sticking their fingers in the pots. I was like, no, I'm never gonna stick a finger in your pot, Captain.
Who's gonna do that? The pots are hot.
Well, he's not taking the chance. Joseph Sisko taught him. So like with Cassidy Yates, always great. We've talked about how much we like her character here on the show, and she's great in these scenes, and I really enjoy everything with her. She makes his character so much better. And they're a good on-screen couple, I think. And so it's they're talking about the house, and then they're talking about his fate with Sarah, and that's all kind of reminded of that, which was set up earlier this season. That was some time ago, 16 episodes ago or 15 episodes ago was the last time we really talked about that storyline, when his mom was possessed by a wormhole alien and then left his mom, and then his mom died in her physical body, at least the person who inhabited that was later died. So that was all brought up. So and that's what we're going to get later on, which you guys said you enjoyed everything with the Sarah Cisco visions. I would say I don't enjoy those as much. I think I preferred the found. I think I like the prophets more when they weren't his mom, but that might just be. Okay, then we go to a next scene, which was Ezri Dax on the Replomat talking to Julian and to Miles. I guess, Julian's gotten over all his Section 31, demons. He was looking a little sad last time we saw him at the end of the previous episode, but he's doing better. He's got a Raktajino. He's hanging out here, and they're teasing Ezri about Captain Baudet, who they're like the Galamite. I need to see a Galamite, by the way. It's kind of like this joke that the species that have big teeth and transparent skulls. But they're always talking about how weird they look, but we never get to actually see one on screen.
Yeah, too hard.
I love here. I love here they bring Baudet into this again, right? Just for Worf.
Oh yeah, it's fun. It's great. It's great fun. It's really funny later on with them talk about Captain Baudet, which of course was one of Jadzier's old boyfriends and friends. I remember even it was set up in the earlier seasons where she's talking to Kira about Captain Baudet. She's like, he sucks. His skull is transparent. Look at his braids. Kira was really against Captain Baudet. So Kira shows up, by the way, here at the Replomat to give the news to O'Brien and Bashir, it felt like, that Worf is missing. Worf was commanding the Karaga, presumably a Klingon bird of prey, and it got destroyed, and they were searching for the escape pods, but no luck yet. So the news hits Ezri Dax, and she's really sad, and that is the teaser for the episode, and that's all how we get into the credits. And then we get our title card at Quarks, where Ezri is really sad. Of course, Penumbra, the title. I think we'll get into what that title means later on in the fun facts. But Quark is there to console Ezri about her. She's feeling guilty about Worf because Worf, of course, was married to Jazier, her previous host, and that this still is deep here, even though her and Worf are. They haven't really addressed much since episode 4 of this season with those two characters. So, it's been a while going on here. And Quark just tries to be her friend. He tries to do a real solid here. He's like, I'm going to give you the best advice. Worf wouldn't leave without paying his bar tab. It would be dishonorable. So it would be that he's not getting into Stovacor unless he comes back and pays me. And that's what I believe. And I was like, this is a convincing argument. I'll go with that.
It's a very Quark argument.
It's a very Quark argument, but somehow it kind of makes sense. I think even Worf would agree, which Ezri was good with. It kind of made her feel better. Episode written by Rena Echeverria, directed by Steve Posey. The next scene featured Ezri Dax getting woken up in the middle of the night with the news from Captain Cisco. Captain Cisco wants to talk to her. He's like, we've been looking for Worf everywhere in the Badlands. We can't find him. We got to leave. The Dominion's moving in. We can't stay. And she's like, what? Even though, again, they haven't had much to do with each other a while, but it does make sense that she can pick up this storyline from Jadzier at this point. It is earned, I would say, if that's what they felt they needed to set up with all her appearances in all those other episodes. Cisco's like, yeah, that's it. We're coming home. Sorry. No, Worf. And so she's left kind of thinking, what do I do? What do I do? Then we get cut over to Cardassia. And we get one of our first scenes here over in Cardassia. We haven't been here in a while, but we're seeing battle plans from the Dominion's perspective as they're sending ships after the Defiant and whatever. And Damara's like, we need to destroy the Defiant and Cisco's ship. And William was like, no, I don't want to. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. But he's like, why not? He's like, you questioning my orders. They're always these two are so great together. I really enjoy it.
They're even better than Ducat and him were. Even when Ducat was around, Damar and Weyoun were awesome. The animosity is incredible.
Yeah, no, it really works. It's just, they hate each other so much, but they're like the axis of evil. They're working as supervillains together, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna take out the Federation. And and Damar, of course, drinking a lot of that Kanar, which is a very syrupy looking alcoholic beverage.
Every time that he does this, it's funny because oh, oh my gosh, Wayne is asked them, do you know what time it is? You know, isn't it awfully early for you to start
Even for
drinking?
you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's always his question. He's like, "Oh, even for you, this is early." You know, I don't know if he never sobers up, he'll never be hungover, right? So there is that, and you can't drink all day unless you start in the morning. So that's how it goes there, and that's what Damar would go with. He's pounding the back. And then what else is going on? Oh yeah, they want the communications relay. The founder wants a communications relay installed in her quarters. Very top secret. We'll later find out this is so she can talk to the brain. This is that was why she needed it. But Damar basically throws shade at Wayun, saying she's not a god, you know. And he's like, you know, I don't care what you believe, but you're gonna follow my orders. Yeah, the contempt between these two, very palpable. What do you any more reaction from you, Adam, on the Wayun Damar of all?
No, I think you guys have said it all. I mean, it definitely felt the contentiousness between the two of them.
Do you have a favorite? Is there one you prefer?
I like Damar better. I do. Jeffrey Combs is Jeffrey Combs. There's nothing wrong with him. I mean, he's fantastic, but I don't think this role for him is as big as a stretch as others, because you see Shran and him here. Sure.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, but Damar's like, how many Cardassians have died in this war? You know, every family's lost somebody. He's like, their sacrifices will be honored when we win it.
Yeah.
Then we go back to the station. We check in with Ezri, who's walking by the Worf's quarters, which was previously Worf and Jedzier's quarters, which she's able to get into with an authorization code. We're going down memory lane here. I
love this scene. This is finally a proper goodbye to Jadzia.
It's a really nice
scene, because we hear all of the best lines, the best from at least their relationship, right? This is the only goodbye we get for Jadzia.
This is the nicest tribute to her. They even show us a picture of her, and they use some of her voiceover.
You hear her voice, yeah. You got her voice,
which is nice. Like kind of looking around. Like I was happier too when she was alive. Not that I hate Nicole DeBoer or the Ezri Dax character, but I would prefer she not have been killed off at the end of season 6. But she was. So it's they're trying to deal with it, and I think they do it pretty well here. To you guys' point, where she's like, I have to go after Worf. I swore. They even give us the Lady Sorella things from the You Are Cordially Invited episode, which is a great episode where Worf and Jadzia got married. So them following up, like, it would have been more, I guess, criminal if they had completely ignored it between those two and there was nothing more for the rest of this season. So I guess it's better that they did it than not do it. So anyway, Defiant comes back. They're like, they've given up on Worf, and Kira's there to say, guess what? Ezri took a runabout and she's gone. She's gone after Worf. What is she thinking? They're saying, I don't know. She's a Dax. This is where I go. And Daxes have to go.
She's a Dax. Sometimes they don't think. They just do.
Do you find it weird that he didn't send anybody else after them?
He tries to call. This is as far as he's willing to go, and we see, of course, Ezri's getting seasick on the runabout, but she gets the call from Sisko. Did you guys like her going like?
It reminds me of, we're caught in a terrible storm.
We're caught. He's like, come on, they could send the Defiant after them. By the way, I want to shout out to the fact that the runabout, of all the runabouts named for rivers, and this one was named the USS Gander after the Gander River in Newfoundland. Sam.
Yes, it's a call out to Sam. That was a fun fact for tonight, but since you're there, I'll just talk about that.
Yeah.
Gander's named after the Gander River in Newfoundland. That's conditioned the tradition of naming runabouts after Earth rivers. The name was originally the Ganges. It was later discovered that ship has already been destroyed, so the dialogue was overdubbed.
To Gander.
Oh. It's kind of weird. I'd love to know how they got to the Gander River. I mean, I learned something today. I didn't know there was a Gander River.
I don't know, the Gander.
Yeah.
What's good for the goose is good for the gander. That's the
Yep.
old saying,
Yep.
right? So I don't know what it really means, but
Where's Sam? So you got to call out Newfoundland today, Sam.
yeah, you got a shout out there. Gander is a city in Newfoundland. There you go, Sam.
That I know, Sam.
There's a river. There's a river, and they named a whole runabout after it. So we just thought that would be significant for you. Anyway, but he's like, Kira's like, why won't you let us go after her with the Defiant? And he was like, because she would never forgive me. I pulled the clip. I liked it that much.
May I ask why you're letting her do this? Because she needs to. Because she'd never forgive me if I stopped her.
Never forgive me. So I was like, I'm convinced. I kind of bought it.
Well, yeah, absolutely. This episode is all about relationships, and even Dax and Cisco's relationship. It shows right there. He knows her well.
You know what would really been kind of funny though is if he, the other crew members like O'Brien and Bashir would have been going like, oh, he would have yelled at us.
Oh yeah, if Bashir did this, he would have lost his mind.
Yeah. Bashir, would you have let me go? No.
But Dax, yes.
Do you care to explain yourself, Captain? No. Yeah.
When are we coming to Newfoundland? Well, Adam will probably be there before me. I've never been. But there's another shot of the Gander and a better shot of the USS Gander. Anyway, so Esri's looking for Worf. She's doing her simulations. She's figuring out where Worf could have gone. She kind of does a MacGyver thing. She kind of figures it out by herself with the help of the computer. And where the escape pods could go. And then she kind of puts the runabout adrift, which I thought was kind of a fun thing. Like this idea of like, well, where would the escape pod have gone? It would have followed the currents, I guess, right? So
this scene was a lot like the beginning of Voyager, First episode of Voyager.
Yeah, like this is where Voyager was picked up and then brought to the Delta Quadrant. It's not far from Bajor, and we haven't been here in a while in the Badlands. I don't think there's been a storyline since like the Eddington thing last season. So it's interesting to see them go. And they're like, well, without maneuvering thrusters, you could just get destroyed by a plasma thing. So she kind of really puts her life on the line, and the runabout for that matter, which is not her property. But she's going after Worf. She got to find Worf. And I was like, do it, find Worf. Also, it almost looks like here, like her pips are 2 lieutenant pips, even though she's a lieutenant junior grade, which I thought was an interesting anomaly. And I'm always looking at the uniforms, guys, even on my birthday.
Oh, we're well aware.
Yeah. So some of these visual shots I thought looked really good. Of the runabout flinging around, and this is all CGI at this point. They had gone off models, I think, by the end of the season. So we're gonna see more of that going on here. Next scene also featured Cisco with his diorama. He's building a house, guys. He's constructing it. Even though I thought this was kind of fun. He could do this in a computer, but or a holodeck even for that matter. But he's going for it. And
I love it when Cassidy comes out. What are you still doing up? And you go, he's engaged. He's focused. He wants to build this house.
I'm a house builder. Putting it together. Cassidy Yates, because he's worried about Esri and Worf. What's happening with Esri and Worf? This is where he talks about, should I take out the wall between the kitchen and the dining room? And she says yes. Well, you want to be able to see people. You want to be cooped up in the kitchen. And he says, you got to get them out of my pots.
Well, a man needs to concentrate in the kitchen. I mean, you can't have people coming in and sticking their fingers in your pots.
In your pots. And then, but then he hits Cassidy with it. Hey, this could be our house. I want this to be our house together. And then she's like, is that a proposal? He's like, yes, basically. And and then he takes the thing off of his little diorama, guys, which was like holding the pot or something in the little kitchen table, the fake kitchen table. And then he puts it on Cassidy here. And he's like, let's get married. This is my engagement ring.
So this is the same look she gave in the Orville when Isaac
proposed.
Yeah.
It's kind of the two husbands of Penny Johnson here in the sci-fi franchises. Davan says he's exactly like Cisco in the kitchen. Paprikash. Hungarian food when you're feeling good, Davan. Anyway, so they're getting married. They get the whole scene here. Back to Esri in the Badlands here with the USS Gander, as they're flinging around. It looked kind of scary actually. I loved a lot of the visuals, exterior visuals. Of course, and then of course there's always this storyline that Esri has space sickness, right? She's
Right.
like, even though she's an astronaut, right? And so she's going on here.
Unnecessary.
Yeah.
It has never been good in any episode to give her space sickness. It adds nothing.
Right. Because why? Anyway, but she's going along, and then all of a sudden, like out of the window, we see Worf's escape pod just kind of like pop up here, guys.
What a coincidence.
What, like that's in this whole big, huge area in space, and space is big. And you imagine that this Badlands area is also very large. Hey, this was good timing. And that you didn't get hit by one of these big, huge plasma pillars. Was also fortunate. They get a tractor beam on the escape pod. She beams Worf in, and they're feeling good. Worf probably would be smelly, I think, after 5 days. How long was he in this escape pod? Like a week?
5 or 6 days. Yeah,
5 or 6 days, right? Because they were looking for him for 5 or 6 days, and then they had to give up. Yeah, and so Esri starts like treating him medically, and then they start like kind of getting close to each other as she's like helping his wounds, and then it gets a little kind of awkward, sexual tension maybe. Yeah, right there. He grabs her wrist, and then they get all weird. And then she goes back to her console, and he starts looking at things. And so I was like, okay, but I thought you were getting with Worf or with Quark and Bashir or whatever,
No, Quark and Bashir think that.
Right.
She doesn't think that.
Yeah.
Not yet, anyway.
I feel like this, anyway, but it kind of, I felt like this does sneak up on me here, but even though I know it already happened. And then back to Cardassia. We get a scene with the founder, Salom Jens, back playing the female changeling, diabolically evil, amazingly. One of the best villains I think in all of Star Trek is the founder. Who is just hell bent on conquering the Alpha Quadrant and enslaving them to the will of the founders with and whatever she's got to do. But she's got the disease.
And no regard for any biological, like any humanoid life at all. Like she does not even pause before killing anyone.
Right. Well, in this scene, she'll basically order the deaths of a whole bunch of her Vorta who love her and worship her as a god. And she's like, because Wei Un says they have a team of doctors working on the disease that has inflicted the changeling race, the Great Link, and that she says, you know what, just get them to document all their work, kill them, and then bring their clones to life, and say pick up from where your predecessor gave up. They might do better.
Maybe a new perspective. Right?
Maybe they need a little motivation.
Maybe new eyes on this problem.
Yeah, and just to kind of reinforce how kind of evil she is.
Yeah.
And her whole thing. And they talk about the Cardassians and how she's like, they might be our allies, but they don't trust them. They're whatever to us. And there was also the mention of her getting that new subspace relay, which she's using to talk to the Breen to bring them into the war. So anyway, that's she gives also a sample at the end of the sequence where we see that she takes a piece of skin off of her face.
It's the grossest part of the episode,
right? She puts it in like a little container, and then it like turns into kind of a set like a diseased looking changeling kind of color. It's not the normal like healthy brownish gold that you would see. Which of course Wei Un takes off with. Yeah, you see a lot of those skin flakes coming off there. Back to Deep Space Nine. There's a scene on the promenade where Ben's telling Jake Sisko about him getting engaged with Cassidy. Does he approve? Jake reminds him he's the one who set him up, and basically, Ben's gonna ask him to be his best man for the thing. But then Jake says he gets to plan the bachelor party, which I thought he was weirdly excited about for his dad. But hey.
Yeah, but we know Jake is freaky deaky, right? Like,
right. Yeah, he's like, we're going to Ryza, Dad, I guess, or something. Anyway,
We're going to Ryza and we're bringing Riker.
Oh, shit. Oh. And Tom Riker, for that matter. Yeah. So anyway, but that was the first time we've seen Jake in a while too. It was nice to kind of get a scene with him. And then we get Ezri and Worf in the runabout. Worf's not talking to her. He's clearly just working at the computer console, trying to do like some sort of realigning the inertial dampeners, I believe was what we're told, over and over and over again, until but basically he's not talking to her. And then she starts kind of asking him about things, how about Alexander? Oh no, she asked him also about him singing in the runabout. I bet you were singing in that runabout, the Klingon operas. Who were you doing? And we hear it was whatever he picked was ambitious, So,
but as she said, the acoustics were favorable.
I bet the acoustics were favorable in there. She does ask him about Alexander. He is kind of he does kind of throw it off. He's like, well, they were shorthanded and that's why he got promoted to weapons officer. She's like, you make it sound like he didn't deserve it. He's like, no, that's not what I said. And
he sounds like a proud father. Like,
yeah. Well, he's not, but then he's just like,
she's like, that's not what I meant. And I'm like, yeah, it is.
My relationship with Alexander is not your concern.
Yeah, I thought when we got married, and there's all like that kind of stuff, right? So they're really like hashing it out between these two characters. And he's like, you told me that the Trill don't get involved with the previous intimate people, at least, lovers. Anyway, but in the heat of this argument, it goes to red alert, and there are ships after them, Jem'Hadar ships, who are chasing them and trying to destroy them. That the sequence really picks up here as they're trying to get away. Worf pulls them out of warp, goes after a planet, and basically, they get shot down. But the Jem'Hadar can't follow them down there apparently because they're ship. But they have transporters; they could have transported down after them. Yeah. Anyway, so we see
So they spent a little bit of time on this. They're going for the packs, Dave. They're going for their backpacks.
Yeah, the packbacks and the phaser rifles, and
so they got their bug-out bags, but they don't have something in.
Like, you think they would have like a more like one with a tent in it, and there's just like it's very weird how they never
better foods. Like, yeah,
and they didn't even grab a comm unit that becomes a
shouldn't that be in the bag?
It should be in the bag. I agree. It should be built in. There should be a backup. You should have a backup. It should be like a backup in your phaser. Why not? It's but they beam down.
When you transport down, one should automatically transport down after you.
Since you're
I don't understand this, Kevin. It bothered the shit out of me.
Since you're beaming down, you can beam down all your supplies.
This is Starfleet. They should have everything.
Right, but he beams down, and we see the runabout from the sky, from the ground, be destroyed. As he's like, well, I guess that was a good call. Get it out of there, So goodbye, USS Gander, Sam. We hardly knew ye.
We hardly knew you,
yeah. And then they get all saucy at each other here about how they don't have the comm unit. I thought you were grab it.
Yeah. Didn't you do
the only way this? The only way this would have been better is if he had turned and gone, Jadzia would never have forgotten the comm unit.
Yeah. She would have like ripped his head off, I think, if he had said that. But she was not happy. Back to Deep Space Nine, where we see Ben and Cassidy talking about their wedding plans here on the Replomat, having a coffee. He wants Bill Ross, Section 31 collaborator, guys, Bill Ross, to be the officiant at their wedding. What do you guys think?
Of course. Cisco loves to surround himself with dubious people.
Yes, this is true.
They're his favorite. That's why he doesn't like Bashir. He's too much of a goody-goody.
Yeah, he's too morally righteous. Yeah. He's he likes Worf. He's like, Worf will, if I say commander, fire torpedoes. He'll fire torpedoes.
He'll fire torpedoes.
He might go, "Are you sure?" But
Yeah,
he'll do it.
minimal pushback, but
Minimal friction with those things. Yeah. So anyway, Cassidy says, "I want to be married by a minister. My mother would have wanted me married by a minister, but she's willing to make an exception here. It was supposed to be a small wedding, maybe only 30 to 40 people, because they were going to do it in the boardroom, the wardroom, whatever you want to call it. But then this Bajoran girl comes up and says, "Can I be one of something like the flower girls, I presume, or whatever a Bajoran version of a flower girl is?" And she's like, "Well, I know you're only allowed 50 of them, but I would love to be one. It would be a great honor, because the emissary is getting married, guys. This is going to be like bigger than any royal wedding you've ever seen on Bajor. This is like the Pope.
So this is when you click in, like, oh boy, this is something else is going on here. This is major.
Right. This is a major.
Right.
The Bajor.
Right here. This is the most annoying thing about Bajorans.
Yes.
Is they're always just standing around looking at you.
Right.
I think they learned this from the occupation. There should be like a cage or something in front of them.
Yeah, you want to go back
Why
to
every episode where something happens with Cisco or there's a new Bajoran that comes out, there's always just standing around staring at everyone. It's super weird.
It is. Yeah. Well, he's a religious icon to them. And so, he's like, well, I guess maybe I have to go along with this. Look at this look he gives to Cassidy.
But he's not getting married right now. They know what he looks like. Do they have to stand in the hallway and stare at him? Are they going to do this until the wedding day?
But do they always stare at him like that way because he is the emissary? Like, I guess
because he's getting married now. This is it's like the gossip guys, the tabloids, the Bajoran,
the paparazzi.
Like the Entertainment Tonight on Bajor, where he's moving to, guys. He said he's moving to the planet. People are excited. He's bringing Cassidy Yates. It's going to be a huge religious wedding. Maybe why shouldn't Kai Wynn really be the officiant at the wedding?
I didn't even know there was this many Bajorans on the station. We hardly ever see a lot of Bajorans, but
they pulled out all the stops. They got every Bajoran extra they ever had in one place, one time for this.
It seems that way, doesn't it? Like, Dave, your point is, like tonight on Entertainment Tonight, we visit Deep Space Nine, where the emissary is getting married. Let's go talk to her.
Yeah, and rumor has it she's already starting to pick her flower girls or her Dajara, whatever they call it. But anyway, this was all set up here, and I don't think Cassidy's too excited. Back to Cardassia. So we're jumping from story to story, really fast. Yeah, Damar with a lady friend. Is Damar married? I think they've established before. Maybe he is. I can't remember, but I
think maybe.
Yeah. But he's kind of like talking to her about his woes, as he does. And then who shows up? Dukat, who I guess can just fly home to Cardassia, and that's exactly what he did here. As Damar does point out that he's not exactly in the good graces of the Dominion, but it's Damar seems to be his only friend left, and this will pretty much be the last time they ever see each other, I think, in this episode. So it's it was kind of interesting to have them back together. Kevin, what was your feelings on it?
It's fine. I don't know. I mean, you see Damar. We haven't seen Damar be subservient to anybody in a while, and he slides right back into that role almost immediately here with Dukat.
Don't forget,
you can
Damar...
see that there's a real reverence for Dukat with Damar.
Oh yeah, and Dukat loves that, right?
Yeah.
But Dukat and Damar did kill Dukat's daughter. If we just have to refresh our memories on that already happened. So, but Dukat, he is a Pa Wraith guy now.
I've come to know the love of the Pa Wraiths.
And he's like, sounds like you believe it. I do. He's fully in, and then he needs Damar's help, and Damar is willing to help him basically, and go for it here. So that's kind of where that scene ends. And then back to Ezri and Worf, who are now get a campfire. We see Ezri trying to fix the communicator, get a communication symbol. But she hears something in the woods. She pulls out a phaser, and it's Worf, who has caught like a like a warthog or something, or wildebeest or of some kind. And just a second. Yeah, and she's not happy. Did you have to kill it? I did. I killed it, and now I am going to eat it.
I killed it, and now I'm going to eat it.
Save me. I could have been killed by a predator myself. And she's like, spare me the nature speech.
Yes. I love his story. Like he's like, I am a fucking warrior, and this is my poem about killing this fucking animal.
Oh, and I did it with this.
I did it with this. I didn't even use a
Aren't you
phaser.
impressed?
Yeah, Jedzia would have been impressed, right? And Jedzia would have been impressed, I think.
Yeah,
maybe Jedzia would have still made fun of him, but
Jedzia would have gone and killed a bigger animal.
Probably, that's true. Yeah, like because she was more into the Klingon stuff. Anyway, and so they're going back and forth, like arguing about stuff. I'm trying to remember all the specifics of what they argued about, but they were throwing.
Well, he does say Jadzia would understand.
Would
and
understand.
That sets them off. Yeah.
Yeah. And then and Jadzia could have fixed the tricorder or the communications thing faster.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And yeah.
And then he says, fine, don't eat any. Just eat the
eat the field rations. I've been having field rations because Worf is like, I was like stuck in that escape pod for 5 days before.
Yeah, he says here that he's been eating field rations for 6 days.
Yeah. For 6 days. So I guess it was still like a day back, or maybe Ezra was looking for him for a day, and they were headed back to Deep Space Nine, which isn't that far. And like they and then all of a sudden they get shot down basically by the Jemadar. But they're arguing here. She calls him a coward, he calls her a slut, basically. A
sleeper.
Oh yeah. Well, you can fill in whatever word you like here.
He said that with passion too, like
yeah. Oh yeah, because Captain Baudet comes up.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Right. He asks if Baudet and Jadzia ever got together, and she says, "Oh, I don't have to answer that."
And then he's like, "You did,
you did."
And she's like, she's like, she didn't even know you back then when she was with him, right? But he didn't like it. There were conversations with Jadzia and Worf in the show about this topic, right?
Oh,
so,
yes.
Yeah. This has come up before. She says,
"Talk to me, you coward."
Do not call me a coward.
She says, you're making him crazy.
You can make anyone crazy.
Anyone crazy. So like there go, and somehow this argument basically evolves into making out. So were you surprised, Adam?
No, I thought we were going to get here. But it was good. It was good. I think the whole scene was really well done. Believable.
I feel like Michael Dorn is just so much older than her, though. Like it's always been sort of like a weird thing for me with these two. It was like back in 1999, I was like, really? Okay. And then like there's a kind of there's a time jump where I guess there was some sex, guys. Some wild Klingon sex. And then we come back, but they've since put on their clothes again. And then guess what? They wake up to Breens looking scary in their green visors, who fired their Tetrion pulses at them. Do you like the Breen uniform, guys? The Breen suit? No,
not really.
I love it. So it's so cool.
Too Star Wars derivative for me.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. I was trying. There's something about this whole scene that bugged. It is very Star Wars, and they look like raincoats.
All right. Well, I like them, but it's we each have their thing. So anyway, they get stunned here. They're passed out, and then they wake up later in the Breen ship. Worf first, who then gets Ezri going here. And then he's rubbing her shoulder, because she got hurt last night in the rough Klingon sex. And then she's like, "Do you regret last night?" "No, do you?" But like that this is like not going to last. You can almost tell right away, right? Like this was sort of like a mistake, but they couldn't help themselves.
Well, Worf hasn't tried to immediately marry her again,
right? True. He hasn't even brought that up.
right? And he does that with everyone else.
He did that with
he's ever
with
met with.
Kalar and with Jade.
Kalar.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but then he's like, I guess we're inside the ship, and then we get the exterior cut where I don't know if we'd ever seen a Breen. I don't think we had actually ever seen a Breen ship before. So this is a big reveal where we kind of like are pulling out, and we get to kind of this wide shot of the Breen ship, which is a very, very different looking kind of ship. It's non-symmetrical, it's part organic, it's got weird little shapes. It's you don't get this is kind of like looking at the back of it, I think.
Yeah.
And so, but you're gonna see more of these pop up throughout the season here. Then we go to Cardassia, where we check in with Wayne and Damar, who are Damar's all nervous about Dukat, which of course Wayne knows about. And he kind of says that to Damar. He's like, I know you're seeing Dukat or whatever. And Damar's like, okay, good. Yeah.
No. He says no, that's not what he says. He
says
that about Dukat had his lady friends too. So he thinks that Damar's off
looking for his girl.
Looking for girlfriend.
Oh, so is Damar actually getting one over on Wayoon then? Is that what?
Maybe at this point, Wayoon is at least pretending that he doesn't know.
Okay.
Gotcha. I don't remember if it turns out that he does know.
Yeah, I always assume Wayne knows everything.
Yeah.
And then where do we go? So we get the reveal where Damar, of course, sees Dukat for the first time as in the Bajoran surgically altered thing. It's a pretty good surgeon, guys.
Man, the people on Deep Space Nine, those Bajorans are going to run away from this guy.
Yeah. Or yeah. Oh, I can't. Yeah. I was.
He looks like a Cardassian.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure Mark Alimo was happier for his makeup stay that day.
I'm sure.
And for and I think he'll be rocking this look for a little while more. Throughout most, I can think of these next few episodes. So yeah, Casey Biggs is just like, you jerk. That's how it goes. But anyway, back to Deep Space Nine. Cisco working on his diorama, and what happens? You get a vision from the prophets, guys. He's we're in here. Sarah Cisco, his mother, talking to him about fate. You can't marry Cassidy Yates. It will bring you nothing but sorrow. He doesn't like that answer. He wants a more specific answer. And it's really like the old visions of the prophets used to be like different characters in the show talking to him, giving more cryptic things. Now it's just Cisco talking to his mom, basically, in these dream sequences. So it's a very kind of different dialogue. But she still kind of talks in that weird prophet way, like almost like Yoda. Marry her, you must not. Sadness it will bring you. And so
the Cisco.
You are the Cisco. You have to do the Cisco stuff. He's like, I'm a man and I'll do what I goddamn want to do, but he knows he can't. He can't fight it. And I don't know. Anything else to say about this? Are we forgetting anything? I don't think so.
I think it's a neat twist. Like, you think they're wrapping up and that's how the show is going to end, right? Like, he's going to go off to Bajor with Cassidy and whatever, but they throw this in there like this. And you love that relationship. That relationship is so good. And now they come in and they're like, no, it's going to make you miserable.
Do they have to do it again? Like, they already did it with Jadzia and Worf. Like, that was already the big tragedy of the show. Did we need this to happen to Cisco too?
I don't know. I like it.
And Kira and Odo?
Yeah, fine. Let's just end the show in tragedy.
Well, like, Lead and Rom get to stay together. But anyway, there will be more of that. So we got that vision. So Cisco is a little shook up from this, and this is the end of the episode. This is where we're left as the final beat. So that's all I think we covered all of the plot. Adam, do you want to just hit us up with all the different facts other than, you already told us about the USS Gander?
Sure.
Thank
you.
So
this, as you mentioned, this episode begins a plot arc that will run through the remaining episodes into the finale. Each episode from this one is on one continuous cliffhanger. I didn't feel like this was a cliffhanger. Did you guys
Well,
know?
The cliffhanger was that he can't get married to Cassidy,
Yeah, I guess.
and that Worf and Ezri are captured by the brain.
Okay. Storyline continuation was never used before in any other Star Trek series like this before. So Deep Space Nine itself has done this before on a smaller scale, with the first 6 episodes of season 6.
Right, Adam. If I could just stop you there for a moment, I wanted to just
Hey,
acknowledge,
Jaemeel.
of course, Jaemeel Robinson coming off the birthday of his mom, and happy birthday, Mrs. Robinson. Here's to you.
Here's to you, Dave. Blessings from the prophets.
Thank
Right?
you, sir. Thank you.
Dave doesn't like the prophets, Jaemeel.
Oh, I love him. I'm Jordan of the religion. So thank you for joining us for the fun facts.
You are to walk a wonderful, wonderful path. A path of podcasts of Star Trek. Enjoy. It has been written. It has been
written. Is it my fate?
It is your fate. It is a burden it's your glorious purpose.
It's my glorious purpose. I'm a man and I control my own destiny. Anyway, but do you like this episode?
I like part 1 a lot more than part 2.
Well, this is a standalone episode, technically.
Oh shoot, I watched both. Okay, yes, I did like this episode then from that statement. Yes.
All right.
We'll
let Adam get back to his fun facts.
Yes,
Give him
Adam.
back.
Sorry, 1,000.
No problem.
I
Always
don't want
welcome.
to be like how Cisco feels about people walking into his kitchen and putting their fingers in his pot.
in the sticking in the pots. You
Yep.
can't be doing that.
Get your finger out of my pot.
Yeah.
Well, a man needs to concentrate in the kitchen.
Cook, Adam, cook.
All right. Okay. So Wayan mentions the Sona outpost in this episode. The Sona are the main antagonist in Star Trek Insurrection, the only movie that should have been 2 episodes.
Forgot about that. Yeah.
It is mentioned in Insurrection that the Sona are indeed allies of the Dominion and a key manufacturer of Ketracel White, the drug used by the Jem'Hadar.
Yeah. And what do we think when we think about the Sona? It's Ruafu, right?
He's looking for the clip.
Yeah, he's absolutely doing so.
Of course I am. Oh, is it? So good.
Okay, so this episode introduced the Breen warship designed by illustrator John Eaves. It is the last major ship design introduced of the series. His initial design was based on the letter T, the first letter of his girlfriend's name. Interesting. The producers wanted to be a ship like any other previously seen in the series, and the design went through several revisions. And the T shape still visible at the center of the multi-leveled asymmetrical ship. So I don't see the T. They just mash it all together.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No. I like the design of the Breen ship. It's a good one.
Cassidy states that that her mother would prefer her to be married by a minister. This is one of the very few references in all of Star Trek to human religion. The only one to imply, however, obliquely that it exists in some form in the world of the Federation. Gene Roddenberry was a humanist and believed by the 23rd and 24th centuries religion would be reviewed or viewed as a superstitious relic of the past by humankind, except if you meet him, Jordan.
Well, maybe he'll be right. We won't be alive to see, but
speak for yourself, Dave.
No, that's true.
Yep. The title of this episode, Penumbra, refers to a region of a half shadow, half light. The word is usually used to refer one of the parts of the shadow during an eclipse. Oddly enough, we have eclipse coming up on the 8th of April.
That's true.
The penumbra comes from the before the umbra itself, the darkest part of the shadow. Oh, penumbra, umbra. Okay. So therefore, on the 8th of April, we can say, I'm in the penumbra. We remember this.
Well, we're in the penumbra.
Yeah.
We're in the penumbra, guys. We're going to be in the penumbra April 8th.
After April 8th, are we in the post-umbra?
No, you're in the umbra, and then you're in the post-umbra for a minute.
For a minute.
It's fast.
but then you're the Penumbra. I that's not exact at all what I thought that this title meant. So that was one of the most fun facts ever.
Okay. Well, we can finish there if you like. I'm going to give a call out to Terry Farrell as Jadzia Dax can be heard in this episode when Ezri is remembering her former life with Worf. The audio is used without the actress's approval. Because of the animosity this created, producers could not obtain Farrell's permission to use footage of Jadzia Dax and what we leave behind. So the portion of the farewell montage dedicated to Dax's character exclusively featured footage of Nicole DeBoer. Did you guys know this?
I know that she's not in the final montage, but I didn't know it was because
of this. This is fascinating. Wow, the drama.
Okay, I thought I didn't realize she didn't allow them to use it.
So she was on. Yeah, well, we know that it was kind of like there was a lot of sourness when she left, and so they used this audio here, which I guess, do they have to get her permission to use it in a new episode? I guess they do, right? So even though it's archival footage, or audio for that matter.
But even with archival footage, it's usually archival footage, approved by the estate.
So Terry Farrell presumably just wanted the courtesy of being asked.
They should have even if they separated in very poor fashion, there should have been at least a heads up and say, hey, we're going to use the footage. Just want to let you know it's okay. It's cool. Even if she says no, I doubt she would say no because she should get it like a 50 cents.
But I wonder if the rule was they didn't have to ask her permission technically for the audio, but they had to get her permission for the visuals, and that's why it doesn't appear in the final montages in the finale. So but they kept it here ultimately.
Or but wasn't it said that she did not give permission for the video visual, so therefore that's why they didn't use it. So
but they didn't, maybe they didn't need her permission for the audio.
But are things so bad?
The audio was used without the actress's approval, so that implies that they needed it.
Yeah,
but how could they keep it in the episode if they didn't have it?
Unless she wasn't gonna.
But she didn't.
It was
sue.
so short, right? And then she didn't sue. But video, it's kind of hard. She should get paid for it because that's an appearance,
right? You would think so, but anyway, okay. That was an interesting.
They should re-release it with her visuals.
Well, that'd be something else. Like the George Lucas version.
Sure.
Why not?
Okay, so I've got two more. These are fun facts, man. I'm loving this tonight. Okay, even after making love or having sex to Ezri,
rough Klingon sex, I like to say.
Yeah, and being interrogated by the Breen, Worf never removes his long-sleeved vision-colored shirt. This was done so as not to have to answer the uncomfortable questions about Klingon anatomy.
Well, we saw his brother's chest one time. From what Ashley's told me, that they have redundant everything, so they have 2 dicks too. Even that's what you're getting at, and to everything, right? So, and the things we have 2 of, maybe they have 4 of.
Ooh,
like nipples. So it's
Can you milk me?
I have nipples, correct?
But anyway, he never takes off his shirt but we know that they do have ridges on their chests from Kern that one time in that episode.
Yeah. Okay, Casey Biggs, who plays Damar, is a member of the Enterprise Blues band, which writes and performs songs about Star Trek. Other members of the band are Vaughn Armstrong, Richard Hurd, Steve Rankin, William Jones, and Ronald B. Moore. Biggs plays the rhythm guitar and sings some backup vocals.
Wait, James, our good pally isn't part of the band either?
Yeah, you think you had James Darren in
James Darren?
Yeah.
He's more of a solo act.
It's solo act.
Yeah, Pally.
Yeah, that's a ticket to Doomsville or whatever. Yeah,
they'd have to have all their shows on the holodeck.
Fair, very true.
Anyway, I just learned how much stuff is going on behind the scenes about with Terry Farrell's departure. This is crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on.
Apparently, right now, Terry Farrell is working on rewatching these season 7 episodes for the first time ever. She's currently going through that process. That's my understanding.
Well, you should
wow.
put an invitation out, Dave,
We
and
should
have her do
invite
it.
her because, like me, she's watching it for the first time.
Yeah, I don't know if she's caught up to this one yet, but she's watching these season 7, and she hasn't watched them in the after 25 years until now. So that's fun.
Have Davan, have Davan try to see if he can hook her. He's the fisherman when it comes to guests, it seems.
Yeah, he's got his ways. Okay, let's talk Penumbra, our ratings, and let's throw some numbers down. Davin has already given this an 8.
Really, not a 10?
He just said 8.
Yeah.
I think Jody gave a rating. Hold on, I'm checking on that.
7.5.
7.5 from Jody.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I'll go next. This episode's okay. I go 7.5.
Well, okay.
7.3.
7.3. 7.3.
7.3 from Jaemeel. Adam.
I'll stick with you guys. 7.5 on this one.
And Kevin.
I go a 9. I love this. I love all the relationship stuff, and like things are actually happening in these relationships. Is great.
I don't dislike it, but I guess for me, there's a few things I don't like. Mostly the stuff with Cisco and and his mom and the prophet stuff. So
I like that too.
Yeah, I know. So I think that's where we're why we. Yeah. I don't like it as much as you.
It's kind of endgame, so I understand, and that doesn't bother me. The whole Ezri thing, I do like. My only issue is, I feel like I would have loved this if it wasn't the last season. It just feels like we spent all this time building up this kind of situation, and I'm like, was it really worth it for the last season? So
yeah. Was it Sam's giving it an 8? Norman an 8.8. And Terry Farrell is watching season 7 for the first time when they get to it. Oh, so she's watching the earlier episodes now, presumably. So she's got a while till she gets there. Okay, and yes, that's right. Cerveza Cristal.
Cerveza Cristal.
I think she's going to be like the same sort of mentality. I was like, why did like Ezri sucks?
I don't know if she'll do that.
She won't do that.
Well, she won't say it, but she's thinking it. I guarantee it.
But it's not the performance as much as the way it's just.
I think she's gonna have more of a problem with that. Like, oh, I love Nicole. Nicole is so great. I wish they did more with Nicole, or I wish they presented Nicole.
They've done a lot with Nicole, Jaemeel.
I like the latter. She'll say the latter. Like, I wish they did it better, or use her.
The writing wasn't strong enough.
It's hard. Like, watching this series, we see in real time, like, these writers getting to know these characters, right? We saw in the earlier season with the Dax episodes, and how those were. Using the last season to explore a character and trying to understand them isn't a good idea. Like, you don't want to introduce a new character.
Yeah, I think if they had just killed off Jedzir and then that was that, I think it would almost be preferable. I know they were never going to do that because of the whole Trill thing. It's too, for a science fiction writer, I think they're just always going to try to do it. Especially since Doctor Who had already been kind of doing something similar with the regenerations for a while. I think they wanted to try it to see what they could do with that kind of idea. So I think that's why we get this. But I think, like, narratively, I think I think it's a distraction a lot of the time, right? Because
should have brought Instant Row.
Well, we would already know her, so at least she's an established character, right?
Yeah, established character. You can just proceed to the end game without kind of trying to investigate and figure out exactly how this character grows in a short period of time we've known.
The nice thing with D9 is they had so many characters like Garrick and whoever that they could throw into the mix that, like, it didn't, Nog and whoever,
I think that's a problem with season 7 so far, is that we're getting a lot of characters, but none of the characters that we like.
Or
Like,
not enough of
they're-
them. Like not enough Wayoon.
Yeah.
We finally got Wayoon back in this episode.
Yeah.
And where the hell is Quark?
Yeah.
Oh, we
He's like 2 lines an episode.
yeah.
Yeah. He's not used a
know?
lot in this final season. So
No.
it's I don't know. It like O'Brien's kind of in and out, and Bashir had an episode.
Cisco is barely in it.
Cisco's barely been in this season.
You remember Jake? I see Jake in the credits.
Yeah, he was in this episode for like a minute,
Yeah.
like, but it was, I think he filmed his scene in like one day. It was just like, we're gonna walk down this promenade and we're gonna say the same thing like over and over and over again. And and then they had a million Bajoran extras, and that's how they went. Okay, so guys, we averaged a 7.8 tonight, so we liked it a little less than last week, which we gave an 8.2. Overall, the season at the moment is averaging a 6.8. So
It's gonna climb.
It's gonna climb. I feel like it's gonna climb, but we had some lows here. We had like for a few weeks in a row, we had like 5.8, then we had a 9.3, but then it was like 6.1, 0.8, 5.5.
0.8.
Well, 0.8 was the Emperor's New Cloak, which we all despised.
This hated, yeah.
Yeah. So and then that's pulling down the season a fair bit, I would say. So but we could maybe operate a bell curve here. But yeah, we had like Chimera and Field of Fire, which we also didn't love. So there's been a couple like sort of mid episodes, you'd say. And it's currently still tracking better than season 1 and 2 ended up being, because I think back in those early seasons, we're like, just get us to the good stuff. And now that we're here, or maybe we've already been,
We're
here,
still saying that.
just get me to the good stuff. It's all about next week. Anyway, so the next episode, guys, is titled "Till Death Do Us Part." It is not technically part 2, but Jaemeel already watched us. Do you want to give us a preview of what we're in store for, Jaemeel?
Night terrors. There are night terrors.
Okay.
Quark makes an appearance.
Quark's in it. I'm seeing, like, just looking at the guests. Oh, so
Yes.
yeah, we in the next episode, not only do we have Dukat back and Damar and Wayoon, but we're going to see Nog, we're going to see Kai Wynn, we're going to see Admiral Ross, Salam Jens will be back as the founder. We got Cassidy Yates in the next episode, more Sarah Cisco, and Solbor. Who's Solbor? Oh, I think he might be the Breen.
Maybe. I gotta ask you, Adam, do you like the way this episode is, like several stories that are jumping?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I don't mind it because I'm gonna find one that I like.
Right.
And
I
that's
think
what,
most of this rest of this season is done like this.
yeah.
Is
Like
there-
honestly,
yeah.
I could do. I mean, Cisco was fine, but I could have done without the back half of him in this episode. It just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
I did enjoy the Esri Worf storyline. It was great. So,
It's like
and that's
finally.
what I mean. Pardon?
It's like finally.
Yeah, like I've been picking like in every episode. There's something going on that I do enjoy. Like it's not a write off. Like if you go back to Enterprise and you just walk away, going, oh my goodness, that was like.
There were some episodes like that. We had some weeks like that where we were just like, what the hell was that? It was
Yeah.
like, how can you hold this up as a Star Trek episode? But then
Where did the horses come from on this planet?
yeah. Why, like, when did harmonicas suddenly go out of style? But you had seen one as a kid. Now, but I don't know. There's so many questions I have about that episode. North Star is what we're referring to, by the way. Anyway, but yeah. So we got more of this. Kai Wynn's coming into the storyline next week. I think she plays a big part in these last few episodes.
Yes,
So,
and I'm here for it. I love Kai Wynn.
yeah.
Like I hate Kai Wynn, but
Like-
I love Kai Wynn.
I do almost feel like this final 9-part whatever storyline is like this huge space opera thing that's kind of playing out, right? Without the singing.
Yeah.
So, anyway, okay. Well, I think we'll wrap up then, guys. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for rating, and everyone in the comments. We got Murphy, we got Davan, Norman, Sam, all kinds of people. If you didn't know, we just got to 500 subscribers here on Live Long and Podcast. That's thanks to viewers and commenters like you. We really appreciate it. And we want you to subscribe if you haven't already. If this is your first podcast, make it the first of many. Maybe, stay with us forever.
If you have
maybe
a
I'm not
Lots
telling
of
you.
things, Dave. There's lots of things to watch.
Like, subscribe, get
Yeah.
notifications, hit that.
If you have
bell.
a friend, right? Just get your
Yep.
friend to do it. We'll be
Get
the
the friend.
1,000.
Yes, and bring them along, and tell them, hey, Live Long and Podcast is happening, and we're part of a united federation of podcasts where we do all kinds of different shows, like Graphic Histories, like Hold Up, which is doing sports movies this week, I think, with
Sports School Ports.
with Kevin, right? You're on.
Yep. We're
What do you
doing Foxcatcher
Odd Men Out.
and eight men out and Cool Runnings.
Cool Running.
Cool
Take a
Running.
guess
And
who
where
picked Cool
where
Running.
I'm told
Take a
that Davan
guess.
is going to be doing a Jamaican accent. The
He
entire
better not.
time.
He knows. We've already talked about this.
Yeah, Jaemeel has told him he's not allowed to do any more Jamaican accents.
No.
Anyway, if he has in the first place. So yeah. Eamon Mater, of course, has Eamon on Track, his music podcast. I was just on there with Davan and him talking about Stan Rogers, the very best of album. Have a listen to that. It was a great St. Patrick's Day theme, so enjoyed doing that. We had Davan and Andre every Tuesday talking X-Men, the animated series, and X-Rated, which is
Big
about to
week
go
this week. Big
Yeah.
week.
Big week, yeah. X-Men 97 is premiering, the sequel series to the original cartoon, which they've already watched every episode of and reviewed. So that's coming out this week for Davan's birthday, which is Wednesday.
Mhm.
So get ready for that. He's turning 40, if you didn't know, and he runs our science division here at the Long Podcast, as well as the Locutors of Trek division. I think that's. Oh, and then our newest members of the Federation, guys, just want to always mention that. Hey, did you see this one with Jason Phillips and Stephen Waters?
Yeah.
So look out for them. They review movies. Did I miss anything, Jaemeel? Maybe.
Hellbound.
Hellbound, Michael Chan, Alex Blackburn, talking horror.
Yeah.
Sometimes Jessica Chan.
Yeah.
Good stuff. And the Super Mater Brothers podcast.
Yeah.
We are brothers.
We are brothers.
We're doing a Survivor this week, talking Yumi Foster, maybe Jason Phillips eventually. So look out for that. And I think that's it, guys. Thanks. I hope you all had a good St. Patrick's Day yesterday.
Yeah.
Thanks for being with me for my birthday. And on that note, we'll go out.
We should all raise a glass if you have one, to
Oh yes,
our dear friend Dave and his birthday. I hope for many more. Thank you. Continue being excellent. Thank you, Dave.
Oh, thank you.
Captain,
Thank
my
you.
captain.
Oh,
Captain, my captain.
well, I was going to go out on a quote of the episode, but now that you've done that, I think I have to go with something else. Sleevok. Where is it? Do I have it still? No, I don't.
He accidentally presses the big blue couch song.
The big blue cow.
We are brothers.
No, that's not it. Okay. Well, we'll go out on this on the kitchen thing because oh no, this is the best with the founders. We'll see you next time.
Have them document their efforts and then eliminate them. Activate their clones and order them to continue their predecessors' work. Perhaps a fresh perspective will speed matters along.
Yes. All right. See you next time, everyone.
Now let's get out of here.